Welcome everybody, welcome to Axon's podcast. Today we're talking about the pandemic and the changes that's had on technology. So as we all know, things like Microsoft Teams has increased significantly, so Teams usage has increased 700% fold. So we're just going to talk about the various aspects and our views. So my name is Rob Burrell, I'm the Sales Director at Axon. And with me is Tim Mears, our Managing Director. Hi, Tim.
Morning.
So we've seen a lot of changes, obviously, over the past 18 months or so in terms of the pandemic, home working, hybrid working. We've proven that actually remote working is possible. What are your views on the changes that we've all had to face?
Well, I think it was summed up really. I think Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, said he coined the phrase of we've had 3 years of digital transformation in 3 weeks, and I think that's what happened when the first pandemic hit. You know, everyone was thrown into a new world of home working, caused uproar. Well, uproar is probably the wrong word. Sorry, upheaval. And I think a lot of people struggled with it because it realised that obviously their technology couldn't cope with remote working. So it was a difficult period. I think the people who had embraced the cloud found it an easier transition away from the office place into home work. But I think that's what's really been the big difference is that I think now that remote, flexible working, I think our lives have changed now forever. I think our working lives have changed. I don't think we'll go back to that 9 to 5 historical work life. I think the working day now is whenever or however long you need to do it in a day. I think people are choosing when to work. I think the work-life balance has changed in the fact that I think people do go out and take the kids to school, or they have that hour and go and take the dog for a walk, and they're fitting the work day is being fitted into their lives as opposed to going to a point of an office, for example, doing a 9 to 5, coming home. I think those boundaries have really blurred now, so that causes quite a lot of issues in terms from a technology standpoint, in the fact that it was quite easy for us to have all the tools, all the tools. Let's say if we go historically into the server room, all the tools that our employees needed to do their day-to-day work were all in one location. Now we're talking about ultimately maybe 50, 60, 70 different offices, which is home workers, which that's caused its own problems in terms of the connectivity. There's an issue around that, make sure everyone's got it, but it's enabling people to have the flexibility but have the tools in order that they can do their day-to-day job but in different locations, and it's been a massive change. But I personally think that is the way that it will go. A lot of people are saying home working, it's going to be all home working. I don't actually think that will be the case. I think there'll be a hybrid between the two. Mm-hmm. I think there will be office locations that people may go in for 1 or 2 days, but then also want the flexibility and the work-life balance around the home working, because I think the one thing that it has proved is that flexible home working is possible with the right technology. So yeah, that's my synopsis.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, I think a lot of our customers who historically were in offices are now saying we're going back to the office, but actually that is looking like 2 or 3 days a week. I know some of the big corporates who are leaving it till next year before they go back to the office. It's still up in the air as to if they're going to go back a full 5 days or hybrid. So I think, like you say, I think hybrid working is going to be the norm.
I think there's been a massive there's been a mindset shift, really, because a lot of people didn't think that they were able to perform their functions or perform their job remotely at home. But I think during these times of the pandemic has proved that you can, if you have the right tools. And I think that's going to be the key the key obstacle to get over is going to be to provide employees with the flexibility that they want, because they've had a taste of that and now they want that. And I think if you aren't providing that work-life balance, that flexibility to your employees, another employee will. And I think there will be. And I think we've already seen it now. And there is there's a lot of movement in the employment market. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are looking for new roles which are offering flexibility, which are offering, things that their present employees aren't. And I think that's had a massive effect on the marketplace as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think when we all were enjoying, particularly maybe in the summertime, we were enjoying working from home. Now we're 18 months on. I know some of my friends in different organisations, even some people in our business are actually now at a point where it's, well, actually, I would like to get back into an office environment, but only for some of the time.
And again, from a technology point of view, that gives us another problem in the fact that you've actually got two locations that you need to be able to perform your job function from. So it all comes around this. And if you've got a remote workforce, how do people collaborate? And I think we've seen a shift in the work life. We've gone through telephones, and then it's gone to emails, and now it's IM. And I think people have now, we're all aware of the Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams, and the younger generations, that's how they communicate. And I think as the younger generations come through the business world, they don't want to send emails. They want instant messages, which is why we've seen such a big increase in Teams, which has allowed people to collaborate, work on the same document in two separate locations. And I think these are the tools which are enabling employees to perform the job function. And I would argue, actually, if we look at our own business, we probably communicate better as a business internally now that we're remote than we did when we were in the office.
Yeah.
Because people have embraced the tool set that you've got. I do think there's a massive education piece around technology. If you take the Microsoft 365, we call it stack or product set, it's vast. There's a lot of functions in there that you do, and I think it's a well-known fact that I think the average functions in Excel, it's about 4% people use, and they're unaware of everything. So there's a big education piece around employees, what actually these products do. People see Teams as it's just video conferencing IM, but it's not actually, because of the collaboration and working on similar documents, sharing in SharePoint, sharing out to the customer. These are the things that I think there's been a massive shift in.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And then turning Teams into your actual telephone system as well. So your whole business is run on Teams, as ours is, and I guess we've been able to then move many of our customers onto the things that we've done ourselves. So like us, a lot of our customers now are using Teams for collaboration, messaging, meetings, video conferencing, and then also telephony as well.
Yeah.
I think that one of the main problems for SMBs was obviously trying to catch up on technology in a short space of time after COVID hit, and I think Teams has obviously helped, but that's opened another problem around security. And again, we've been working hard with our customers to help better secure their users and their data. So I think SMBs
we should do a podcast on that.
We can do that. That can be the next podcast. But yeah, I think the users and the data and protecting them is key. We've seen cyber attacks, phishing attacks increase hundreds and hundreds of %. So perhaps we can talk about that in a different podcast.
Yeah, it's a good point, because obviously historically it was a central location. So I use the analogy, you can always put a burglar alarm on your office. Yeah, but now we've got 60, 70, 80 fundamentally different offices, all coming off different connections into the World Wide Web, and etc. So security is a big problem. You've seen it all in the press that the hackers are taking advantage of this situation. So it's a big problem. It's one of the big problems that have probably fallen out of the pandemic as well.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so to summarise then, the pandemic has brought a shift in advancements in technology, new ways of working, obviously hybrid working being probably the way that most businesses are going to stay or going to go, but of course opened up other threats that we can address in our next podcast.
I would say the biggest, we all know the changes and what's happened during the pandemic. I think the biggest thing that I see is that mind shift in the fact that people now are open to different way of working, and I think they've seen different ways of working and it works for them in their work-life balance. I think we all have to be very much aware of remote working, about mental wellness, well-being, etc. However, people now know that there's a different way of working. So again, and I'll quote Satcher on this, is that he says every business now is a technology business, and I do agree with that. Mm-hmm. If you look at if you look across how the pandemic has affected or shaped businesses across all sectors, every sector has had to use technology in order to, in many cases, survive or flourish through this period, and I think that will continue. I think it's going to be hard to keep in for SMBs to really keep up to date with technology. But I think if you start small and then you sort of evolve into this, that's where the businesses will get ahead of the competition, in my opinion.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a good point around the work-life balance, because I was reading an article the other day around, are we actually now working from home or living at work? So it's getting that work-life balance right.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool. Well, that's it for this podcast. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much, Tim.
Thanks, Rob.